psychological sense, psychological horror, then I highly recommend Walter Mosley's A Man in My Basement. The Man in My Basement. And this is about a young black man who can't find a job, drinks too much, and worst of all, stands to lose the most beautiful home that has belonged to his family for generations. He inherited his parents' home, or not even his parents, like grandparent, whatever. He inherited it, but he's about to lose it because he just won't get it together, right? Charles' fortune takes an odd turn when a stranger offers nearly $50,000, and this is in like the 70s or something, to rent out Charles's basement. And soon as the boarder transforms the basement into a prison cell, Charles finds himself drawn into circumstances almost unimaginably bizarre and profoundly unsettling. So this dude comes over. I really want to rent your basement. Charles is like, get lost. But Charles is still effing up. So the idea starts to grow on him. Like, okay, I can get back on my feet. $50,000 is a lot of money. He goes and tells the guy, alright, let's do this. But he doesn't really understand his motives or agenda. And then he sees that it's a prison cell down there and he's like, what's going on? And it starts to drive him crazy. What's going on down there? Why is he doing this? He's trying to figure him out. It's making him a little cuckoo. It's really good. And there's also a movie. The movie was recently made. It's on Hulu. I did watch it. I think that was made in more modern times, though. I can't really remember. It was decent. It's pretty good. As far as, book to movies go. The next two are fantasy, academia fantasy. And this one is Blood over Brighthaven. Blood over Brighthaven. I'm kind of new to fantasy, so I don't really fully understand the magic systems. I just go with it. For 20 years, Siona has devoted every waking moment to the study of magic. Fueled by a mad desire to achieve the impossible, to be the first woman ever admitted to the high magistry at the University of Magics and Industry. When Siona finally passes the qualifying exam and becomes a high mage, she finds her challenges have just begun. Her new colleagues are determined to make her feel unwelcome, and instead of a qualified lab assistant, they give her a janitor. So she's the only one that gets no assistant. They're like, maybe this janitor will do. Little does she know the janitor has a special set of skills, okay? What Siona nor her peers realize is that her taciturn assistant was not always a janitor. He used to be a nomadic hunter. But now he sees the opportunity to understand the forces that decimated his tribe, drove him from his homeland, and keep the privileged in power. Meanwhile, Siona doesn't really know about all that because she's from this area and she's always thought this magic comes from a place of like good, okay? Nay, nay. Excellent, excellent, excellent. I know a lot of people cried at the end of this. I don't know if I can cry from fantasy or not. I did not, but I really thoroughly enjoyed it. Highly recommend. Okay. The other fantasy academia was Babel. Is it Babel or Babel? I don't know. I've heard it said both ways. Just like her new book, Catabasis. I've heard that said different ways too. R.F. Kuang, also the author of the Poppy War trilogy, which I have not read, but I should. Look at this. Just look at this. Give me these covers. If it's fantasy, I want to see something that intense. 1828, Robin Swift, orphaned by Clara and Canton, is brought to London by the mysterious Professor Lavelle. ancient Greek and Chinese, all in preparations for the day he'll enroll in Oxford University's prestigious Royal Institute of Translation known as Babel. Babel is the world's center for translation and, more importantly, magic. So it's like translation and magic are intertwined in this one. Silverworking, throw in silverworking. The art of manifesting the meaning lost in translation using enchanted silver bars has made the British unparalleled in power, as the arcane craft serves the Empire's quest for colonization. For Robin, Oxford is a utopia dedicated to the pursuit of knowledge, but knowledge obeys power, and as a Chinese boy raised in Britain, he realizes serving Babel means betraying his motherland, so he's conflicted. As his studies progress, Robin finds himself caught between Babel and the shadowy Hermes Society, an organization dedicated to stopping imperial expansion, which is what his school is trying to do. So he's caught in between. When Britain pursues an unjust war with China over silver and opium, Robin must decide: can powerful institutions be damaged from within, or does revolution always require violence? And she's a chunk. She's hefty. But I remember I read this on a road trip. I'm actually going on another road trip. And I'm like, should I do a physical book? I don't want to have to take a physical book though. You know, I'd rather have my Kindle with a whole bunch of books in it. But because I remember just like holding this book and being in the car with a ton of motion sickness meds, because trust, I can't just do that. I have to take the meds. I remember the whole experience and just tearing through it. There is something special about tearing through a physical book. And this was before I was tabbing much. So, 4 stars. Recommend. Middle grade. I love a Peter Pan retelling, and this is kind of that. I put in to win this on Goodreads, and I did, so it was an ARC. I got it before it was out. And this is The Dark Times of Nimble Nottingham. The Dark Times of Nimble Nottingham. It came out August 2025. This was so fun. As shadow creatures loose on the streets of World War II London, a shadow creature is surviving on the streets of wartime London as an orphan. Certainly hasn't been easy, but Nimble Nottingham has perfected the art of going it alone. The only friend he needs is his beloved dog, Winnie. To pass the time between rolling blackouts and bombs falling through the air, Nim spends his days fencing, roof jumping, and gargoyle perching. That is, when he's not scrounging for food. So when a bomb falls onto the notoriously creepy Gravenhurst Manor, Ned knows he has to get inside and find whatever spoils he can get his hands on to sell for food. Get in, get out, quick as a flash. At least that's what the plan was until Mouse, a member of the local street gang called the Dead End Kids, invites himself in for the heist. Inside, Mouse and Nim encounter far more than just crumbling walls and shattered windows. Beneath Gravenhurst Manor lies a secret room, and inside the room is a locked safe. Nim knows that something this protected has to be valuable, so he cracks the safe and unknowingly unleashes a monster. So this is adventure and fantasy and middle grade. I wouldn't call this YA. And it was cute, and it was fun, and it was a little sad. But if you want a little break from all your adult stuff, and you gotta escape the smut every once in a while to like cleanse your palate, give this one a try. 4 stars. Alright, let's do a nonfiction. I've actually, you know what? I could add one more nonfiction to this because I just finished one that was a 5-star. This one is a 4-star, and it is The Will to Change: Men, Masculinity, and Love by Bell Hooks. And, I underlined the crap out of this. You know, I raised one son that's an adult now. I'm raising another son. And I did seems to be the experience of a lot of other women that I know, and it kind of hardens us, like, ugh. But this book is kind of keeping you from being a man-hater, understanding why and how things got the way that they were and are, and how we can keep our little boys precious and sweet and instill empathy and consideration, and tell them that they need to know how to cook a meal and do the dishes, etc., etc. It was excellent. I mean, even though I had some of these thoughts, I can't articulate. That's why I read you the backs of the books. To create the culture that will enable boys to love, we must see the family as having as its primary function the giving of love. Providing food and shelter are loving acts. Learning how to love in family life, boys and girls learn the relational skills needed to build community at home and then in the world. In dominator cultures, most families are not in safe places. Dysfunction, intimate terrorism, and violence make it breeding grounds for war, and that's kind of what I grew up in. Y'all, my Patreon tells a lot more about that. Yeah, kind of how to love men so that they don't feel unloved enough to be a-holes. Alright. Demon Copperhead. Ooh, this is heavy. Demon Copperhead is my first Barbara Kingsolver, winner of the Pulitzer Prize. And this is a exclusive edition. Barnes & Noble exclusive edition. This is about a young man born to an unfortunate woman. I don't even think the dad was around from day one, or he left like right after that. He was born into, unfortunate and very poverty-stricken circumstances. He did have some neighbors that kind of helped out, but ultimately, his mom was a drug addict and she was raising him on her own. And she would get these boyfriends, mainly one boyfriend that was a piece of shit. Back to, dominator culture. He was awful to this kid. And what that did to him. And then it goes through his childhood, his teen years, him, spoiler alert, him going into foster care, him growing up, and then having, repeating some of the same cycles. So, it's a tough read. There's nothing fluffy about this. This also resonated deeply. And I will be reading more Barbara Kingsolvers. 4 stars. Recommend. Okay, now one I did cry physical tears on. And I think me and Ida talked about this. It is a little predictable, but oh, it's so sweet. It is so sweet. It's tender. And that is The Berry Pickers. The Berry Pickers by Amanda Peters. A novel by Amanda Peters. And this is deckled-edged, just like the Demon Copperhead was a deckled-edged book as well. This is about July 1962, following the tradition of Indigenous workers from Nova Scotia. A Mi'kmaq, I don't know if I'm saying that right, family arrives in Maine to pick blueberries for the summer. Weeks later, 4-year-old Ruthie and Ruthie's youngest child vanishes. The family's youngest child vanishes. So little Ruthie vanishes. Her brother was the last one to see her. He remains distraught by his sister's disappearance for years to come. frustratingly overprotective. Norma is often troubled by recurring dreams and visions that seem more like memories than imagination. As she grows older, Norma slowly comes to realize there is something her parents aren't telling her. So it's predictable, right? And even though early on, and even from that, you're probably like, oh, connecting the dots. It touches. This one, and then another 4-star read of the year was Betty. They kind of feel similar in nature. This one is much shorter than Betty. I don't have the physical copy of that one, but that was also 4 stars. So we have The Berry Pickers by Amid. My stomach is starting to growl. I am hungry. I'm not going to talk a lot about this one because I've talked about it lately because it took me forever to read it. And I've mentioned it a few times, but Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil. I know a lot of people read this year. It did take me a long time, but it's not because I didn't enjoy it. I was kind of just savoring it. It is a vampire, a sapphic vampire. It's not a love story. People are falling in love, but this isn't a romance. You follow 3 different vampires throughout time, but you know that their time is different because they are infinite, eternal, immortal. And they're falling in love with each other, falling out of love with each other, and then there's other characters, and one of them gets kind of evil. Bury Your Bones in the Midnight Soil, V.E. Schwab. That was actually my first V.E. Schwab, and I liked it so much that I got The Shades of Magic, Darker Shades of Magic. That'll be my next V.E. Schwab. Okay, we are down to the top 4. Let's do Slammerkin. Slammerkin, I picked this up at a Goodwill, like, when I was out of town. I was like, oh, this is before I was really doing any historical fiction. I'm like, it just sounds so good. And it's by Emma Donoghue, who wrote Room, which I loved Room. Fabulous, this book rocks from the title on, a spectacular job. And that cover is beautiful. Born in 1748, working-class London, Mary Saunders lusts for linen, lace, and shiny red ribbon that leads her to a life of prostitution. Okay, it's all coming back to me now. This ends up pregnant, she's starting to show her mom's not paying any attention to her, so her mom doesn't notice at first, but a neighbor writes her mom a letter like, just so you know, it's clear to me that your daughter is a trifling hoe because she's pregnant. And her mom like looks at her, she's like, oh my god, she is. So she kicks her out. Trigger warning. So she's just like out, pregnant, wandering in the city. And she, major trigger warning, okay? If you want to skip ahead just a couple seconds, she ends up in a ditch where she's also taken advantage of by a whole, like, they're soldiers. Okay? She wakes up in somebody's home, or somebody's room, like apartment. She's alive. She's very unwell. And finally somebody walks in the room. And it is the prostitute that she was always, like, infatuated with. She has saved her life, essentially, or taken her in to get her well again, and they start a friendship. But of course she goes into the life of, the street life of London. It's crazy. It's a wild ride. It's a wild ride. Highly recommend. 4 stars. Probably 4.5 stars. Clytemnestra. Clytemnestra. Oh god, that's a big one. What time is it? Gotta go to work soon. Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati. This is Greek retelling. As for queens, they are either hated or forgotten. She already knows which options suit her best. You are born to a king, but you marry a tyrant. You stand by helplessly as he sacrifices your child to placate the gods. You watch him wage war on a foreign shore. You comfort yourself with violent thoughts of your own, because this was not the first offense against you. This was not the life you ever deserved. And this will not be your undoing. Slowly, you plot. So this is the oldest sister of Helen of Troy. And throughout history, I guess she's been labeled a bitch, right? But this is like, when you read this about Clytemnestra, you're like, well, yeah, duh. Acceptance or vengeance, infamy follows. So you bide your time and force the gods' hands in the game of retribution. For you understood something long ago that the others never did. If power isn't given to you, you have to take it for yourself. A blazing novel set in the world of ancient Greece and told through the eyes of its most notorious heroine. This is a thrilling tale of power and prophecies, of hatred, of love, and of an unforgettable queen who fiercely dealt out the deaths of those who wronged her. Clytemnestra by Costanza Casati. I think that I have another Costanza Casati on my TBR now. No. Yes. It's Babylonia. Is that her? Okay, these two. That's probably like a 4.75. These two. 5. No notes. I don't believe in 6. For a while I was like, oh, no. The 5 is the perfect. I just gotta get better about giving those shitty ones that I read lower. Because I do it out of guilt. I'm like, oh, but somebody worked so hard on this. Okay, but I read, 70 books a year. I'm allowed to judge a book. James. And I heard the audiobook for this is fantastic. This is by Percival Everett, and it is a retelling of Huck Finn, but told through the eyes of his slave friend, his runaway slave friend, James. There's all kinds of accolades on the back. It is National Book Award winner, New York Times Book Review, 10 Best Books of 2024. So it should be readily available. Oh look, I left one of my little tab things in here. A brilliant reimagining of the adventures of Huckleberry Finn, both harrowing and ferociously funny, told from the enslaved Jim points of view. Guess what? I cried. Real tears. I did not think, well, I don't know why I didn't think Chuck Finn on the Disney Channel because I couldn't remember much about that. But ooh, when Jim overhears that he's about to be sold to a man in New Orleans, separated from his wife and daughters forever, he runs away until he can formulate a plan. Meanwhile, Huck has faked his own death to escape his violent father. As all readers of American literature know, thus begins the dangerous and transcendent journey by raft down the Mississippi River toward the elusive and unreliable promise of the Free States and beyond. Brimming with the electrifying humor and lacerating observations that made Everett a literary icon, this brilliant and tender novel radically illuminates Jim's agency, intelligence, and compassion as never before. James is destined to be a major publishing event and a cornerstone of 21st century American literature. Agree. Please read this. Please read this. James by Percival Everett. And Lonesome Dove. Look at this. Look at this book. This book is 860 pages. Did I live in this book for a month? Yes, I lived in the Wild West for a month. Larry McCurdy, Lonesome Dove. Oh my god, my stomach is so annoying. Larry McCurdy, Lonesome Dove. I had heard, and I'm like, oh, the Western ick. No. A love story, an adventure. You know what? I love adventure. A love story, an adventure, and an epic frontier. Larry McCurdy's Pulitzer Prize-winning classic Lonesome Dove is the third book in a Lonesome Dove tetralogy. Don't read the other ones. Read this one first. Is the grandest novel ever written about the last defiant wilderness of America. Journey to the dusty little Texas town of Lonesome Dove amid an unforgettable assortment of heroes and outlaws, whores and ladies, Indians and settlers. Richly authentic, beautifully written, always dramatic, Lonesome Dove is a book to make us laugh, weep. Yes, I cried a couple times. Dream and remember. I'm not even that sensitive, and a couple of these made me cry. So yeah, you go meet all these characters at Lonesome Dove, and there's no women out there. So there's like one lady that got stranded by her ex at a bar, and she's the town's worker. So they're all kind of weird about her. Anyways, they have to drive some cattle across the West, and that they end up taking her with them because she starts like dating for real one of the guys who's not my favorite character. You get so attached to all these characters. At first you're like, why would I care? Why would I care? And all of a sudden you're just they're your homies, they're your besties. Anyway, you journey with them on this trek, this herding cattle across the United States, and I learned so much about how that works that I just had no clue about. I ended up watching some history videos on YouTube because I was like, this is crazy, like how they have to take the wheels off of their carriages and stuff to get it through the water, and how many people die. Like if you start out with 10, you know maybe 4 of you are gonna make it to the end. Like you know that setting off. When there's lightning storms, how you try to hide, but there's really nowhere to hide because you're out on the plains. Infections, can't find food, can't find water, you're running out, you're hoping to get to a town, but it's, eczema. Horses are injured. And then, of course, you have, because this is a Western, you have Indians, Native Americans, and the way that they're portrayed, you gotta go in knowing that this is a fiction book, and that the thing was to villainize it's a spoiler, but I'm gonna spoil. This is from whatever year it's from. This is old news, but you need to read this too. I can't even ask you to. Look at this. Look at this. I gave a copy to my brother, and he hasn't even picked it up yet. In spite of me telling him best, and like, there's nothing girly about this. This is testosterone. This is adventure, you know. So he needs to pick it up. Okay, that's it. Those are my favorite books that I have physical copies of 2025. If you watched this all the way to the end, thank you very much. I hope you have a good rest of your day.